Welcome back, DIVEBOMB IndyCar podcast, here to review the qualifying for the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500, the condensed qualifying, just the one fast and furious Sundays. We saw all 33 cars attempt their guaranteed runs before the Fast 12 and the Fast 6, and as is inevitable all the time in this series, Álex Palou found his way to the front as he took pole position at the Indianapolis 500 for the second time and will lead the field to green for next week's 110th running of the Indianapolis 500. We have a lot to discuss, being effectively 2 days of running, worth in one. So a lot of times, a lot of drivers you'll hear from a little bit later, and a lot to break down through the field of 33. As always, a qualifying day, a lot of stories. Few surprises, both people who we thought did better than they expected, people who did worse than expected. It's just what you always get here at Indianapolis. But there's no better way to start off than our pole sitter, Álex Palou. Kind of built throughout the entire day, kind of scraped into the Fast 12, didn't have a great draw in 31st, but Palou did his usual thing, turned it up for the Fast 12, and then when it really mattered, he was the guy to beat, and it was pretty quickly clear that he wouldn't be stopped by Felix Rosenqvist at the end. So it's the standards we've seen from Palou and Chip Ganassi Racing over the last 5 years, or however many it is, that the way they work together is just incredible. Like, Palou is obviously an unbelievable driver. There's no doubting that. But at a track like this, where the goal is to hold it flat, a driver is a small portion of the work when you're looking at Indianapolis qualifying. It's about kind of the collaboration with the team, the working on setup, the feedback for adjustments, and the 10 teamers, they always do. Got it spot on, obviously, based on Alex's feedback. And then once he went out there, he absolutely nailed it, like he always does. And he opens up a championship lead a little bit more. That's the kind of story lost in this. He gets 12 extra points of qualifying on pole. So the championship battle, which was already kind of falling away coming into the GPs, coming after the GP, I should say, is further extended ahead of the race. But obviously, that's a very different kettle of fish where the championship's kind of thrown out the window. But he has extended his points lead a little bit further and is in the best spot in the house for when we head into next Sunday's race.
Yeah, it's a continuation, really, of this sense that he's almost making a mockery of the field, because even when he says he felt on the back foot, we've made a joke of this, that it feels like Palou, no matter what happens, always says, "That was so tough. It was so tough." You'll hear him say it later, to be honest, but I think even heading into the Fast 12, which, to be fair, owing to quite a difficult qualifying draw, being very late, he felt like, he wasn't in contention for pole. Like, he'd felt like that kind of all through the week, and then he obviously just turned up the wick really when it mattered, and it had looked like Rosenqvist was pretty nailed on, really. Like, he had been so fast through the first two segments, so for Palou to just pull it out of the bag at the right time kind of just makes sense, doesn't it? It just makes sense from everything that we've seen. But yeah, he said he kind of trimmed out a lot more than anyone else for qualifying, and I don't know, like, we'll play in the clip in a second of him speaking in the press conference to us afterwards, but he said that winning the 500 didn't really change anything in terms of weight lifted, but he certainly looked pretty liberated out there. I guess he always does anyway, regardless, that's just who he is. But it was pretty cool, like, from a personal perspective, us being there for the first time, to kind of watch as the emotions unfolded down in pit lane. I thought that was quite cool, just seeing whether it was Rossi's team embracing when the front row was confirmed, or Palou's team kind of celebrating when it became very clear that Rosenqvist, for whatever reason, had dropped off in the Fast 6. And that was just cool, like, seeing all the vibes around. It was a bloody busy day in terms of fan attendance as well, which was really cool to see. Knowledgeable crowd as well. They knew what was a good lap, didn't they?
Throughout the day, don't you, really?
That was cool, and obviously seeing, like, the support for likes of Connor Daly, Pato O'Ward, and just in general, like, the vibe was so cool. Give a little bit of a taste of what it's going to be like when there's 4 times as many people next weekend. So yeah, cool. Palou, inevitable, but you just can't fault the guy.
I said this off camera. I really wonder, in your Palou shoes, when you get to lap 3, Rosenqvist has been a mile an hour down for the first 3 laps, and you kind of know you got it in the bag, but you can't really celebrate until he crosses the line. So, like, I need to get honest answers from a driver at some point, like a very honest driver. What that kind of feeling's like of just, yeah, I've got the pole, but I can't celebrate it. I think the most awkward thing, which some Indy 500 historian have to tell me if it's happened before, is if somebody crashes after you whilst going for the pole. Like, how do you celebrate somebody crashing and getting the pole? So I don't know if it's ever happened before, but that must be really awkward. But yeah. I mean, we need to try and find out from Palou one day what the situation is in that weird ass moment where you're waiting for somebody to finish their run, but you kind of know you've already beaten them.
Well, it was kind of very similar to 2023 in that it was Palou on provisional pole with one more driver to go, and that driver was actually Felix Rosenqvist. So lightning does indeed strike twice at Indianapolis. It struck more than twice actually yesterday, so there was that too. But yeah, Álex Palou was sensational again, and he was so nice. He was really honest with us as well after you count the car. They obviously must have made some kind of changes because he wasn't happy with it. And as you say, it's as you said about the driver and team combination, they really just have by far the best understanding of what works and what doesn't, and they had to run in a specific window this afternoon to at least get into the Fast 12. And I think we started the interview with him this afternoon by saying, well, essentially that's kind of job done. That was the best as it was going to get with that 31st place starting position, and then they were always going to move up from there. I think if he'd been 13th, and by the way, he was 0.087 seconds faster than Takuma Sato over the 4 laps. Now, I know it's not done in time, it's done in average miles per hour, and you see on the screens, but in terms of the time, it's about a 2.5 minute run, and yeah, he was 0.087 seconds quicker than Takuma Sato, so not a lot in it. And yeah, from 13th, that would have been where he's starting, but instead, by qualifying 11th, he has the opportunity to go again, and then he just does what he does best, and it's just so clinical. He makes it look so precise. It's so clinical. Basically, didn't give anyone else a sniff, and yeah, it must be a nightmare leading and then seeing that you've still got Palou to come. It really must be.
One final thing I did want to add on Palou, actually, and this kind of segues nicely into what he told us in the press conference about really appreciating kind of the fan attention he now gets as an Indy 500 winner, is actually, it was after the bullpen, the media bullpen, which you will hear from, I think, 30 of the field at the end of this show after their first runs. But Palou, given he was running 31st, could very easily have just gone back to his team and after speaking to the media and kind of just cracked on, and scooted away or got in a golf cart or whatever. But instead, he was probably down there for a good 10 minutes or so, just making sure he'd signed autographs for everyone, got pictures with everyone. And I actually heard him say, because there were a couple of older kind of adults behind, and he actually said to them "Oh no, I'm going to see the kids first." I just thought that was he's such a stand-up guy. He's like a champion in every sense of the word, and I think having actually finally got to meet him several times this week and have those sort of interactions is just kind of reaffirms that. But
I mean, if I could just add to that, the other thing I'd say is he's the same when he speaks to the media as well. I can't fathom the amount of media commitments he'll have to do because he wins every week. But he probably gets asked the same questions every single time, usually by the same people every week. But he always does it with a smile on his face, very graciously, and he's just a role model to other drivers on and off. If you're a young driver looking for people to look up to, not only is he an absolute beast on track, but off track he is just the loveliest, most thoughtful, and just a great guy to interact with. Yeah, if anyone's aspiring out there wanting to be a racing driver, model yourself off Álex Palou. Although the one thing I would say is find a wife who picks you a better qualifying draw than 31st. That's the only drawback he's got.
I guess when I was just playing the clips of Palou in the press conference afterwards, we spoke to him a little bit about really how his life has changed since winning in the Indy 500 in the context of kind of coming back and having this first week, and then also just on how they turned it around from kind of feeling quite on the back foot from a qualifying perspective. So here is Álex Palou speaking after his pole position at Indianapolis.
Alex, you've now obviously had a week back here in practice qualifying as a 500 winner. So
How different has this week felt coming back as a winner, whether that's kind of a weight lifted or the appreciation you have for the race or appreciation you're getting from the fans? How different has it felt this week?
I think especially it's the fans. Just it gets a lot busier, and I have to plan when I move from the garage to pit lane a little bit more. But it's super fun. It's incredible. It's incredible to see so many young people, so many fans that have been here for more than 50 years straight, and just I don't know, but it seemed like it was the biggest attendance I saw here in qualifying. So it's incredible to see. It's incredible to feel as a champion. Other than that, it doesn't change. Like, just winning last year doesn't mean anything this year.
And you obviously say you didn't expect to get this pole, maybe struggling a little bit more kind of going into this weekend. So can you pinpoint maybe where some of those challenges were coming into the weekend, and ultimately kind of some of the changes you made to be in this position now?
It's basically just speed and balance. Normally when you go out and you have a speed and you're slow, you try and trim and you try and make it faster, but then the balance goes away. So you need those two lines to merge in order to have a really good car capable of fighting for pole. So we were not able to merge those lines throughout Thursday and Friday, not even in Fast 12. I was happy, but I was not like overly happy. But in Fast 6, that car was a rocket ship.
The closest challenger to Palou was, maybe slightly surprisingly, Alexander Rossi. He had a pretty average run into the Fast 12. He only scraped into the Fast 6 and 6. We didn't look convincing at all in the Fast 12, but really kind of came in early on with a really monster benchmark run, which everybody had to chase, and it looked like it was a pretty difficult run to beat. And we know that Ed Carpenter Racing build very good cars at Indianapolis. Like we saw all those years of VK where he was putting on the front row for 3 years in a row, that they're definitely capable of building really strong speedway cars. And yeah, they've been on the back foot a little bit in the last couple of years, but Rossi obviously kind of brought them back to the front there, which is, I think, a bit of a confidence boost. And Rossi's kind of said this a little bit later, that the team are going in the right direction. Like, from what they saw as a success last year isn't now a success this year, for example, and kind of those standards and benchmark changes as the team continues to grow. And I think he says the potential of this team is really limitless. So obviously a huge kind of confidence boost for them there. Rossi is very good in the Indy 500s are past, and I would be very surprised if he doesn't challenge if he's got a good car in traffic. But considering how much running he's done this week, he's had a lot of time to kind of perfect that car. But I mean, it's a good run for Rossi, like an important run for Rossi as well, and that's going to be a really big confidence boost. Like he was some distance off Palou. Like, I don't think they could have made any adjustment to really close that gap down a little bit. But yeah, I think they'll all be very pleased with a second place qualifying effort. I think it's a pretty seismic effort to be the top Chevrolet as well, ahead of your McLaren's, ahead of your Penske's. Dry and Reinbold looked pretty good kind of during the week as well. So to come out top Chevy as well, I think pretty impressive. So yeah, good day in the office for Alexander Rossi.
Yeah, this was very much kind of felt like Ed Carpenter Racing back to what they were kind of in those VK days. I know they had a bit of a tougher qualifying at the 500 last year, and yeah, I mean, Rossi's like, he's got to be in the equation for probably top 5 drivers at the Speedway, really. He's always a factor there, and it's interesting you kind of mentioned, you know, this, he probably couldn't have made inroads on Palou. There was such volatility kind of between the different sessions, because Rosenqvist could go from running all of his laps in the 232s to having one in the, you know, a run in the low 231s. So a lot of change kind of session to session. It was a bloody hot day, and it was kind of windy, but kind of windy and then not windy and then windy, and it was all changing basically. But yeah, Rossi, we actually spoke to him, me and James, I think it was, in the morning, and he seemed pretty pleased because he was one of the few takers in the morning practice session, probably in about third of the field, just a little more, actually ran that session. So yeah, seemed to really translate over the speed that he showed there, and Alexander Rossi at his best, I would say.
Yeah, it was super impressive watching Rossi do that. I mean, I had tipped him for pole. I didn't quite think that was going to be the case after what we saw in the first runs, but yeah, to pull it all together like he did, it genuinely looked like that time was not going to be beaten, and then Álex Palou did what Álex Palou does best. So yeah, you'll hear from Rossi now. He really, it's his best qualifying position at the Indy 500. He's always in the conversation. He's charged through from the back many times before. So actually being up there to start off with, and as you say, he's done plenty of race running, did the most laps on Tuesday, the opening day of practice. It's very exciting to see what he's going to be able to do now, starting at the head of the field. So you hear from Rossi now.
Alex, you had a fairly mixed run in the Fast 12, but we saw you get a lot more pace when you came into the Fast 6. So kind of what was the balance between conditions being different, the adjustments you made? Just how were you able to find that speed when we got into the Fast 6?
Just understanding more. Every run around here, you learn something new, and it's never the same just because the margins are so small. So you start compiling the information, and you can kind of see what others are doing, and based on what you have, you can work to optimize it and maximize it, and that's what we were able to do today.
And then running out your front row is David Malukas. If you haven't caught it, we have a new exclusive podcast out with David Malukas, kind of previewing his Indy 500 with Team Penske, as well as manager updates and David Malukas' classic humour. So that's all in there. So give that a listen if you haven't already. It's only kind of 15 minutes long, and it's well worth a listen. It's always a good fun episode of David Malukas. And coming in, he felt like one of the favourites, going for pole throughout the week, given Penske's track record, and obviously he's got a pretty good track record around here as well. Got through into the Fast 12 pretty easily. I think he was second in the end, just behind Rosenqvist, who was the real benchmark there. Pretty decent Fast 12 run, and then just fell shy of Rossi in the Fast 6. But, I mean, once again, it's kind of the standards Malukas has set at Penske. He settled in so well. Once again, he was comfortably the fastest guy in the team, as we've become very accustomed to seeing this season. And, yeah, it just continues to feel like he's right at home, but his personality hasn't changed. It kind of, when it comes to a race car, he is like he's so focused. He's becoming a top tier level driver, but without losing the kind of David Malukas we see off track, which is awesome. So yeah, great day for Malukas as well. And obviously the first time he's going to be in the front row for the Indy 500, which I'm sure he's going to be very excited about.
On that, the kind of one of the last points you make about him being the same Malukas was funny. We ended up in the lift with him up to the media centre and sharing jokes about, what did you say? Something about
how did Grimsby proud?
Yeah, did Grimsby proud. So that was interesting. That was good fun. But yeah, once again, like just showing that he's really rising to the occasion. I think on every occasion that he's had at Penske, like it's been such a consistent start to the season. Like I would really recommend going and listening to our chat that we had with him on. I think it was the morning of Fast Friday. It was well worth a listen because he gives some really good insights into the start to life at Penske and why it's kind of been so good. And I think this was just a natural continuation of that. We know how good he is on ovals. He obviously shone at the 500 last year with Foyt as well, so it's not a surprise. And maybe given how some people reacted to his move to Penske, you'd think, oh my God, him qualifying third for the Indy 500 is a surprise. But yeah, I think as we've said a few times, he's proven a heck of a lot of people wrong that were doubting this decision to put him in the car, because another impressive thing on his resume so far this season.
Yeah, he's almost become the Team Penske benchmark, which is quite an impressive thing to have done. We're only on race number 6 of the season, and he's very much the guy to beat there. I mean, Newgarden did win in Phoenix, but other than that, it's kind of been the David Malukas show at Team Penske, and the other two will definitely get on to Joseph Newgarden slightly later. McLaughlin was almost slightly anonymous, and we'll get on to him as well, maybe perhaps in the Fast 12. But yeah, Malukas just keeps showing up for Team Penske. Road courses, street courses, and now the Indy 500 as well. It's just so impressive what he's been able to do, and as you say, because driving for Team Penske comes with a whole new responsibility. It was very well documented that, and this has been the case over the years, and we've had countless media clips of different drivers talking about the expectation that comes with Team Penske and how that can change the way that they view racing. But it doesn't seem to have affected David Malukas at all. Just starting off, he, as you say, he's very much still himself. I did enjoy very much our lift ride with him, and those interjections. And yeah, he's still smiling. He keeps his head screwed on, and then as soon as the visor goes down, he is a different beast, and he has been so strong in that car. And yeah, again, another one that has had to fight his way through the field. He started 7th last year and ended up being kind of in the fight for the win. Technically finished second, was third on the road. Didn't quite have enough to get to to get to Palou in the end. But yeah, being able to start at the pointy end of the field for Malukas, I think is going to be really big. And yeah, the last Team Penske driver that started third at Indy 500 won the race. So maybe lightning will strike twice as well.
The driver probably be most disappointed with the fast six, you'd imagine, is Felix Rosenqvist, considering kind of the margin he had all day. He was 8 tenths clear when we went to the guaranteed runs. He went pretty early, but he set a benchmark that nobody was even really close to. And then the fast 12, he once again had not as much of a gap, but was averaging 2:32 lap times, which it looked like nobody could really get that close to. And then it came to the fast six, and that pace had kind of gone, which was quite hard to understand why, given the fact that the conditions hadn't changed that much, and you wouldn't imagine he's going to change much on the car based on the fact that he was flat for 4 laps round and the fast 12. So I think he'd be pretty disappointed. Like, again, we've seen this from Rosenqvist before at this race, as James mentioned, where he's the one going for pole. He's been quick in the segments, and maybe he let himself down a little bit in the fast six. There's a bit of a disparity, really, between all the Meyershank racing cars, which is something they're probably need to investigate. Cashin Evers was down in 15th, Armstrong was down in 17th in the end. So it wasn't a great day all around for the team, and Rosenqvist probably should have had a slightly better effort than fourth based on the speed that we saw. So we kind of need to find out maybe where that speed had gone coming into the fast six. So ultimately, like, fourth place is still a very good place to start from in the grand scheme of things. It's much better than starting 26th. He's still absolutely in contention for the victory, but you kind of get the privileges of the front row of a photo shoot and kind of more aura when you start the race down the back stretch of the helicopters flying over you. So, I mean, a good effort, but like I think he'll be a bit disappointed this evening.
Quickly, kind of going back to that point you made about the disparity. Very similar Ed Carpenter racing. Rossi was obviously second, then you had Ed down in 14th, Rasmussen down in 16th. So, then we see that a lot at Indy. I mean, you even look at Penske with Malukas in 3rd, McLaughlin 9th, and you got down in 24th. I mean, that was a real turn up for the books. But yeah, Rosenqvist has become a real specialist at Indy. I think probably would have deserved a pole, really. He's been kind of in this deep position fighting for pole for several years on the trot now. So yeah, it was a weird one that I guess conditions were so variable that, yeah, just couldn't, I don't know, something went awry in that final session. But, I mean, we watched the Fast 12 session in the Turn 1, kind of lower end of the grandstand. So I remember we were coming down and making our pole predictions. We were like, it's obviously going to be Rosenqvist because he was kind of just in a different league, but didn't pan out that way. So, yeah, not sure why, but he's in a very good position because it is, as the drivers will probably come to tell us this week, the new one on the bingo card, it's a long race.
Yeah, very, very strange because he had the best speed by anyone. 8 tenths of a mile an hour, as you said, faster than Malukas in the first session, 4 tenths of a mile an hour faster than Palou in the fast 12, and then that pace just kind of evaporated. Now, the only thing I can think of is that they took too much wing out, and then they ended up scrubbing way too much through the corners. Maybe possibly influenced by the fact that Palou had gone so fast that you think, well, we're going to take another click off of front wing, take another click off of rear wing and see if it sticks. But yeah, they clearly just weren't in the right window for the fast six. It was slightly cooler. Track temperature dipped underneath 100 degrees Fahrenheit for the first time in the fast six, and it had been up at sort of 115 degrees Fahrenheit when Rosenqvist had been making his first run. I think he went out 10th, so he had a reasonable spot, but it was blistering pace. The only driver, again, we don't do lap times, we do speeds, but the only driver to do a lap under 37 seconds, and it was towards a 2:32.9, I think. He was pretty close to 2:33, something we hadn't seen for a while as well, something we hadn't seen since last year at all. So yeah, it was really, really strange, to be honest. He'll definitely be going home kicking himself, but still, 4th is a very, very decent place to start around here. Anywhere sort of in that top 9 leaves you in a good spot and doesn't leave you with that much chasing to do. So, yeah, Archie, as you say, it is a long race. It's also a race of attrition. Weather forecast is changing all the time. It looks like it's going to be hot, which will also mean it'll be a race of attrition as well, and a very sort of tyre-dependent race as well. So yeah, I think Rosenqvist will be particularly disappointed, but at the end of the day, it's still a very, very decent place to start, and that car is like a rocket.
So just going to pick out kind of some other big stories from the Firestone Fast 12, and one I think was a really interesting one was Rinus VK. Like, they had good qualifying cars pretty much all week at Hunkos. I mean, race cars looked pretty good as well, and he made the Fast 12 pretty easily. Like, there wasn't really a debate about it. He was kind of, I can't remember where it was exactly, but he was easily kind of top 6, top 7 area, and going into the Fast 12, like, he has this really good first lap, comfortably in the 2:32s, which would have put him in quite easily to the Fast 6, and then as the run goes on, he just seems to lose a lot of grip. He's really kind of having to hustle it around. He's out the throttle completely on some corners. He's very close to the wall. Like, the balance obviously completely shifted. And what that kind of maybe indicates is they took too much downforce off it. Like, where you kind of have that big lap one, but you kind of start having to really hustle it later on to kind of get the car round, and we kind of saw the implications of that. Ended up qualifying 12 out of 12 despite that kind of monster first lap that he had. So I think he'd be pretty disappointed, because I think they had a very good car underneath them. Like, we saw Stingray Rob earlier have a complete disaster on the other side of the Hunkos garage, where he was like having to really motor it round, and he did a pretty good job not to crash. And it kind of felt like VK was maybe in a pretty similar position, just has a little bit more experience, so could kind of keep his foot in it where he could. It was a kind of very difficult day for Hunkos on that front. So I think VK would be a bit frustrated that that car had a lot of potential. And I guess it's kind of the same on the other side of the Lance with Ryan Reinbold. Conor Daly had a lot of potential. He only ended up 8th in the end. So I think maybe a bit of frustration there that Hunkos probably could have had a better outing.
Yeah, I just wanted to put in a word for Kiffin Simpson, to be honest, because he drove his way into the Fast 12 with a very unideal qualifying draw. He was somewhere in the mid-20s. The track conditions were nasty. It was windy. And he put together a really, really solid run. And then in the end, in the Fast 12, his first run, which at the time, I think it was a 2:30.8, it didn't look spectacular. If that had been in the original qualifying session, it would have been around sort of 14th or 15th. So he thought, okay, well, maybe Kiffin will be starting towards the back of the Fast 12, maybe in the inside of row 4, in the middle of row 4. Actually, all the way up on the inside of row 3 and 7th. It was a really strong run, and I guess track conditions actually almost got a bit harder. It got very, very blustery around sort of 5 o'clock when the Fast 12 was going on, and it made it particularly difficult, but he put together a good run. It's a really solid improvement from where he was, out-qualified 5-time pole sitter at Indianapolis and teammate Scott Dixon. And yeah, I just thought that was actually really impressive, because when you are teamed up with 6-time IndyCar champion and 2008 Indy 500 champion Scott Dixon, and then 4-time IndyCar champion and 2025 Indy 500 champion Álex Palou, there's a lot of pressure to perform, and it's probably really hard to kind of establish a foothold in the team for Kiffin. So the fact that he's done that and come away with a very reasonable result, and it might not stay there, he might go forward, but I just thought that was a really, really strong moment for him, and something he could be really pleased with. Yeah, I thought it was really impressive.
I think one thing I just want to pick up on there that you said, James, is like mentioning lap times, 2:30.8s. 2 years ago, we were getting like pole records in 2:34s. I think, ultimately it's quite a negligible difference kind of to the eye, but it's kind of a bit sad that now we're getting pole times in the low 2:32s. I mean, I think even in Schwartzman last year was 2:32.7, basically a 2:32, around that anyway. So, about half a second quicker than what Palou did this year. So somehow something's got slower this year, whether it's the new kind of hybrid deployment strategies or whatever, clearly not being as quick, or I don't know, something. Could have been the conditions, to be fair. It wasn't an ideal day being so hot, but that just is a bit of a shame. Like, you just get such a buzz if you saw like a 2:34 lap or speeds up to like 2:45 or whatever. That's, a bit of a shame, because the car was so light, obviously, in anticipation for the hybrid at that point in 24. So, I thought that was a bit disappointing. But anyway, I think the final story really from the Fast 12, other than to just mention Passway Ward sneaking in 6th, well, another one where his teammates were nowhere close, really. Lundgaard 19th, Siegel 21st, Hunter Reyes had a pretty brutal week of issues, as you'll hear later, was 23rd. But I think AJ Foyt Racing are the other pretty big story. Santino Ferrucci getting in 5th. that was a really, really good run. But I think even more notably was Kyle Collette in 10th, and on his rookie in his rookie 500 is heck of a run, really. Like getting up to speed so quickly. I know it's obviously not Schwartzman putting on a pole last year, but still a pretty good run. And then just as we're getting back home for the night, we get an email that both him and the 24 of Jack Harvey, who Harvey was way down the order in 29th, have been disqualified for a technical infraction, which for Collette is a huge shame because it's been a fairly quiet start to his IndyCar career. This felt like a proper statement. He obviously had the quickest time in the test last month as well, so kind of was translating. I know that was a big toe time, but evidence there that was really starting to translate, and it was an early statement in his IndyCar career that I feel like maybe he needed. So, yeah, pretty brutal break for him. I don't know whether it was an infraction that gave much of a performance gain or not, but they set a precedent last year that anything, and you're getting moved to the back of the field. So, yeah, it's a bit of a bummer really for Collette, who was very, very happy with what he did, and he looked really, really hooked up in the car as well. So, yeah, that was a bit of a shame. But it's probably just about the Fast 12, really. Takuma Sato's been bumped in there as a result, into the top 12 as a result of the disqualification for Collette. But we should probably get onto some stories outside the Fast 12 too.
So we'll run through the full finishing order at the end, including the Fast 12, but obviously we're not going to run through everybody's day, otherwise we might be here for a couple of hours. But some kind of bigger stories from the guaranteed runs. Obviously everybody got one guaranteed run due to the kind of weather condensed schedule. It meant there wasn't lane 1 and lane 2, you were one and done, which by the way we saw no crashes. So this is one of the years that have gone past the first week with no crashes, which is pretty rare. We've only got 4 more hours of running before the race, so it'd be interesting to see if we have any crashes prior to the race this year. It should be pretty rare. So they've all kept it pretty clean so far, and Rossi and Malukas were joking it's because they're just so good.
Yeah, I think probably worth getting on to some of those stories. I think chief amongst them is Newgarden, qualifying down in 24th. He's not always qualified brilliantly. I mean, when he won his first 500, he was in 17th, and last year, I think it was when he won his first 500, he was down in 17th, wasn't it? I don't know. I think in fact, they locked out the front row, obviously. I think he was on the out. He was the third of those, wasn't he, in 24? Yeah, of course. But yeah, it was I don't know. It just was a bit of a damp squib of a qualifying. I don't really know what happened. He was pretty early. I think he was 9th in the order, so it wasn't like he had a terrible draw or anything. He just had no speed, really, and James will get on to the Andretti's after this, but he was qualifying slower than the Andretti's. We were running laps in like 228s and 229s in morning practice, and you were like, whew. I mean, I think we all said he was at least going to make it into the Fast 6 because Penske have looked so imperious, but yeah, that was a shocker. I mean, we didn't get to speak. He was one of the few drivers we didn't get to speak to because he was kind of being rushed through media, and it was quite busy at that point, but yeah, I think I overheard him saying that the car felt all right, so just a lack of speed, but I don't know where that speed went particularly. However, should be very exciting seeing him come through the field, because I would imagine he'll probably have a pretty quick race car. And we saw him last year coming from the back row up into the top 5 by like lap 100, so it makes it cool having big names who are probably going to be, they're out of position, basically, down the order. I think that's quite cool, but very disappointing qualifying because, yeah, I mean, you guys know slouch around Indianapolis, and probably biggest mystery of the day was why the hell he was so slow.
It's almost unexplainable. Like, his teammates weren't slow. They all kind of practiced the same. They went out in very similar programs on Friday. He was very quick on Friday. Yeah, very, very strange. I'm just going to mention, and actually you kind of led on to this, the Andretti Global guys, because, again, another year where we talk about how disappointing Andretti Global have been in qualifying. As I think I said this to you, Archie, this morning, the phrase that we like to hear the most from Andretti is, we have good race cars, but... and that but being the most important part of the sentence, because... yeah, once again, we spoke to Carl Kirkwood, actually, after his qualifying. I mean, he's all the way down. He'll start 25th because of the Collette disqualification.
That's a good point, actually. Newgarden would be
23rd.
23rd.
Huge difference.
Yeah. So he'll start 25th. Will Power will start 19th, and Marcus Ericsson will start 17th. Ericsson again, the fastest of the Andrettis, like he was last year. That's not really a great achievement. They are all quite slow, but they looked terrible in morning practice this morning, as you were saying. And actually, the fact that they found some speed. I mean, Ericsson could have been much higher up had he not had to breathe the throttle massively into turn 2 because the wind just went whoosh. You explained that to us. I'm sure you'll hear that clip as well. And he kind of managed to get it together and sets 2 very, very reasonable laps at the end of the run. And that's the good thing about Indy as well, is that because it's 4 laps, it's a real challenge. They really have to keep on top of the car. And Andretti Global, Carl Kirkwood did say to us that he hopes it doesn't come back to bite him, but he believes they have the best race cars, and they did look really strong. We've been picking out Kirkwood in those race runs. He's been carving his way through traffic like a knife through butter. So seeing him and Newgarden just 2 spots away, and you wouldn't envy being Romain Grosjean in the middle of all of that, as he qualified down in 25th. In between the 2 of them, you wouldn't envy. You wouldn't be envy being Grosjean. It's going to be really exciting watching the 2 of them come through the field, because they have really fast race cars and they are miles out of position. I guess the good news is for Andretti is they found at least something. It looked like they really could be locking out sort of row 10. That was how bad it was this morning. But then Power's run was actually the one we opened our eyes and I thought, actually, they're not as bad as thought. Still not great. They'll be starting 17th, 19th and 25th, but it's something to work with. Obviously, Newgarden won 3 years ago from 17th. Hopefully, Marcus Ericsson will do the same. We shall see. It is definitely going to be interesting because there are so many guys out of position, as you say, and it's all stacking up to be a really exciting race.
And like Andretti, we also had the annual RLL qualifying confusion as they were unable to identify what on earth they were doing today. Graham, as you'll hear from, was particularly confused as he qualified 30th, so if there was another car who was in front of him, would have had to come back for a theoretical bump day. So, yeah, I mean, they just seem to have these massive gulfs in car performance, and Sato once again was kind of lead one, even though he was kind of the unhappiest one earlier on in the week with the way he was relative. So we saw Foster qualify 22nd, we saw Sato in 13th, and we saw Schumacher in 28th. So kind of very split results for RLL there. Sato was obviously quite unfortunate not to make the fast 12. He would have done had they spotted Collett's issue a little bit earlier, which would have meant... Sato, as you hear from, was also not very pleased. He felt there was definitely more on the table there. Again, it's just kind of Rahal every single year. There's new optimism coming into qualifying, that the problems are sorted. They work on qualifying all week, and they're kind of just in the same spot they were in before. It's like... It's not exactly a new issue when this has been going on for 4 years now, and they still can't get to the root cause. And it often circles back to the 15, and the 75 is usually a significant distance apart. And yet, it's been so many seasons now, and they still can't identify the issue. I'd be a little bit worried if I was them and that this is still going on. So, mixed day in the bag. I think Louis Foster was a bit disappointed, but I think that's not too bad of a starting spot for him. Sato, again, with his experience, he can certainly fight from there. Ray and Schumacher will obviously have a very uphill task anyway. So, they've got obviously quite a lot of work to do.
I would say particularly in terms of their full-time cars, Sato's always the anomaly. Even there, step back from what we've seen the last few years at least. I mean, he was on the front row obviously last year. So, yeah, I mean, Rahal being kind of down there on the brink, familiar. Foster 22nd. I think he might have qualified 22nd last year, so it's not exactly a step forward when we've obviously been hearing them all week saying that their qualifying cars feel so good. And to be fair, we saw decent evidence of that, but I don't know what happened. Just didn't come to fruition. I think Schumacher putting himself 28th, to be fair. First qualifying run at Indy, not bad. He'll obviously start one position higher than that because of the Collette issue. But yeah, that was pretty disappointing, I think.
Yeah, I just wanted to actually briefly mention Stingray Rob in the opposite sense as well, because he had one of the most horrible looking qualifying runs I think I've ever seen. It was really, I mean, he was having to lift so much. The minimum speed that he had, and bear in mind in turn 3 you kind of want your minimum speed to be around 235, 236 miles an hour. His minimum speed in turn 3 was 213 miles an hour on lap 4. He was actually really honest with us. I really appreciated the insight that he gave us about just how the car was understeering and oversteering. It was loose, it was sliding, there was no grip, and they had no speed. And just as a driver, he was talking about how it's just the most terrifying experience. I mean, I think the quote was, "Disaster doesn't even cover it." It was so bad, and I really worry that's going to affect the confidence for the race as well. He genuinely, I think the best way to describe it, he looked shell-shocked to us. He looked like he'd just been through the ringer, and it's one of those things that Indy does, because this being a one-and-done effort, it was impossible for them to back out. And so, running that little downforce is terrifying enough in itself with the boost, and then when you get these gusts of wind and then that kind of tricky experience, it's horrifying. And as you said, it's going to really affect his race confidence as well. And I'm sure you'll hear that clip, because I appreciate just how honest he was with us as well.
I mean, this was kind of the awkward situation today, where if you felt in a bit of a horrible situation, you kind of just had to finish it. Like, you couldn't go again. You just had to finish it. Like, even if you were slow, on the chance somebody after you crashed, you still would have out-qualified them. So, like, even if your car feels horrible and you're going at 210 miles an hour, you kind of just have to put up with it in the case someone behind you crashed, which didn't happen. But that's kind of the thing that sucks when there's no bumping. You lose a lot of jeopardy in that scenario. But let's go over the 33, how they're going to line up for next Sunday. So Palou, Rossi, Malukas as your front row. Rosenqvist, Ferrucci, O'Ward, row 2. Simpson, Denny, McLaughlin, row 3. Dixon, VK, Sato, row 4. Carpenter, Cashin, Evers, Rasmussen, row 5. Armstrong, Ericsson, Lundgaard, row 6. Power, Siegel, Foster, row 7. Hunter, Ray, Newgarden, and Grosjean, row 8. Kirkwood, Legg, Schumacher, row 9. Rahal, Hauger, Abel, row 10. And then Rob, Collett, and Harvey, your 11th row. So they'll have a party at some point, which good for them. I mean, I'm sure all of them are pretty frustrated after today. It's not like they bumped their way into the field. They had 2 of them failed tech, and one of them had an all downright disaster. So that's not going to be a fun last row party, I don't think. But hey ho, that's what happens around here. Let's play all these clips we're alluding to. We spoke to 30 of the 33 drivers after their first guaranteed runs. So that's going to play in very shortly, kind of giving you all their reflections of what they felt in the car and kind of just what they felt of the qualifying day. So we're going to play that in shortly, but I guess from us, that is qualifying weekend over. There are 2 more practice sessions, 2 hours on Monday, which should be the day this is going out, and then another 2 hours on Carb Day Friday, which is also where you have the pit stop challenge, and you'll also have the Weenie 500, which is cool. Love the Weenie 500. And then after that, your next on-track action will be the 110th running of the Indianapolis 500. So isn't that pretty awesome? Right, we'll leave it there. Here's the 30 drivers from today kind of reflecting on their qualifying runs, and we'll catch you at some point in the next couple of days.
Congratulations, job well done after the tricky qualifying draw. Just talk us through how hard it was with the conditions and with the wind.
Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, my wife didn't make it easy on me getting that 31st spot. But no, honestly, it was tough. We knew it was going to be very tough with the conditions. We know we have a good car, but probably not the ultimate fastest car. So that just made it a bit tougher. But yeah, happy we made it into the Fast 12, which was the first target of today.
And it's going to be hot as well for the Fast 12. Do you think that might work to your advantage now? How many changes do you think you're going to make heading to it, or are you pretty happy with the baseline?
I mean, I'm not super happy because we're like there on the limit. But I'm not mad either. So I just think we need to find a way to get a little bit more speed, see what the conditions are going to do in like an hour when we go out, and see if we can be a bit more clever than everybody else.
Hi Alex, we spoke to you this morning and you were pretty happy with the car, so how different did it feel to the morning, or just talk us a bit through how it went?
It's a lot different than the morning, obviously, with the conditions. So I think you're always like, we have a lot of tools and resource to predict like what the car's going to do in the conditions, but until you actually do it, it's still a prediction, right? It's a little bit of a guess. So I think that assuming we transfer, we'll have a much better understanding of what we need to get the balance a little bit better. But no, the car's still in a good window. It just wasn't really optimized for those conditions.
And what did you kind of learn from that run that you would kind of want to maybe change ahead of later on should you transfer?
Yeah, I think all month it's been pretty forgiving, and that forgiveness kind of just went away, especially at the rear of the car. And just as the surface of the tire begins to heat up, the snowball effect keeps coming. It starts to slide a little more, and then you put more temperature in, and it slides more, and by the time you get to lap 4, it's pretty shitty. But that's the same for everyone, and you just gotta control that as best as you can, and the cars that do that the best are the best.
Fast run today. Well, I expect you'll be back later this afternoon. How did it feel, and what changes do you anticipate you'll have to make?
Well, if we want to compete for this P1, I mean, I don't know where Rosenqvist's at, if he showed all of his cars yet or what they're doing, but it's fast, right? So if we want to go for that P1, we're going to have to trim it out more, and we're going to have to try to push these limits. And it's tough. I mean, considering these conditions, also, it's tough for anybody out there right now. This wind gust is crazy. I don't know. I don't think it was this bad for me, so it's tough out there right now. But our car is fantastic. We still have room to play with, but it's going to be a close battle, I think. I think it's going to be a fun Fast 6.
And you've looked pretty comfortable. You didn't practice this morning. You only did limited running on Friday. How much do you think it's going to anticipate it changing, and how comfortable do you really feel trimming it out even more to go for the pole?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be tough, man. Trimming out, when you trim out, you're getting 4 tire slides. You know, it's not front, it's not rear. It's just your old car does not want to churn. But we got to do it. We got to do it to get it up there. So we'll see. It's a play of the game. You know, you want to know if it's possible. If you think that it's not going to be possible, you probably shouldn't do it. Because to be honest, I qualified 7th last year, and I was fighting for the win the whole race. So you can get it done no matter where you are.
Obviously, pretty run. Looks like you're going to come back this afternoon for another attempt at the Fast 12. How do you kind of balance knowing the track conditions are changing, but wanting to make adjustments to the car?
Yeah, it's tricky with the weather. I think that's the biggest challenge here, and that's where I've got it wrong in other years when I've been to the Fast 6, and I've pretty much felt like I had a pole within grasp, and then the weather's kind of been the thing that flips everything upside down. So we're very focused. We think we have enough data to be on top of that, but every time you're out there, the track is different, so you can't really know. But yeah, I feel pretty good so far.
You obviously decided to run in practice this morning. How beneficial did that prove? What did you kind of learn about the car there?
Well, the practice wasn't necessarily something that we would electively chosen to do. It's because we had to put a new engine in, so we did an install, so we might as well just do a quick balance check. But we couldn't get a true cold leave today. But kudos to Chevrolet getting that thing tuned and making the power it did to produce those numbers.
And just finally, this day, obviously just talk about the emotions of kind of before you have your qualifying run, once you're done with each run. How does that feel? Because obviously you've got experience here now as well.
Yeah, obviously the run today was kind of nice. I've had some really sketchy ones out here. So I guess playing Gran Turismo during the rain day yesterday really helped me out. So, but yeah, no, I'm pretty stout. I'm pretty happy with everything. This is it's a fun challenge, I'd say, the qualifying format, just the one shot. So overall, I'm actually not too mad about it.
Hey Pato, pretty consistent run from you. Do you think you could have trimmed a little bit more, and if you reach the Fast 12, kind of how much you're going to do knowing conditions are going to be different?
I'm definitely going to have to trim to flirt with entering the Fast 6. But yeah, my balance wasn't amazing. I'd say probably the worst balance I've had all month with qualifying trim. So we got to make that a little bit better and pepper it in to make the car happy around the four laps.
And obviously you were the last McLaren to run. Kind of, did you learn anything from Christian, Ryan and Nolan, or was it kind of doing your own thing?
Christian had one thing, Nolan had another thing. Ryan's car this month just hasn't truly had the speed. So I think everyone had something a little bit different. Mine was probably most similar to Christian.
Hello, that was a pretty good job, well done, wasn't it? So just talk about kind of how that run felt and the speed that you had in the car there to transfer.
Yeah, super happy about it. It was a great day for Chip Ganassi Racing, all 3 cars in the Fast 12, so Chip's super happy about it. I saw him on the way over, and yeah, the whole team's just put in so much work in the off season to make this happen, and now we're here. So now the next step is just go try to put 3 cars in the Fast 6.
And looking ahead to later, kind of, are there any changes you're wanting to make? What did you learn from this initial run that you might want to improve upon?
I don't know. I mean, I felt pretty good about that run, to be honest. I think we've got a solid car under us, and for such difficult conditions, it was still pretty solid. So, maybe we'll try to improve it slightly, but ultimately we just got to go make sure we put in 3 more clean laps.
Quite a different qualifying, given you've kind of just got one and done essentially for this kind of stage. So just talk us through kind of the psychology of that, and ultimately how your run felt as well.
Oh man, that was, I'm telling you man, that was the hardest, Archie, right? Yeah, the hardest run in my career, Archie. It was ridiculous. But I managed to hold on, which is nice. We did a big first lap and it didn't dig out as much as I thought it was going to. So yeah, we'll move forward, but I'm going to kiss my wife when I get back because she gave me a very good draw.
And obviously, like, you're quite experienced here now, but qualifying day, just talk through kind of the emotions of before the run, maybe what it feels like getting out of the car, but obviously knowing you've possibly got to go again later.
No, I was sick, man. I was sick. I was super nervous, but it always is around here, and even more so because you only got one shot, so you got to try and wheel it. So yeah, we hung on, so we'll keep pressing.
I think that was a pretty good run for your first qualifying attempt at Indy. So just talk us through how it felt in the car and kind of how you're feeling now.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling stoked, to be honest. I think big hats off to the team. They did a really good job with the car, adapting to the conditions, and they put me in a really good balance for the 4 laps that I could keep on top of my toes. So that was, awesome, and I was enjoying myself up there, and hopefully we can make it through the first 12.
And if you do make it through, is there anything in particular you maybe would like to change with the car?
Less rear wing.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hi Scott, just give us your thoughts on the run. How did the hotter temperatures kind of change the balance of the car during that qualifying effort?
Yeah, definitely a lot different, from what we've seen earlier in the week, and for a lot of us, we haven't driven the car since Friday, so track temp is up, the wind gusts are a little higher, so I don't know, like it's the same for everybody. I think Kit with the number 1 draw was definitely good for us. I think the conditions will probably only get a little bit worse throughout the day, so we have to see how that plays. And for us right now, we just need to try and make it a fast 12.
And how much information can you kind of give to Kiffin and Álex later down the line? Is there anything that you've learned relevant to them at this point?
It's hard, right? Because the conditions changed. I think it's 2 hours till they run. So we'll give them as much as we can. Obviously, it's an open book, but it changes so quickly out here, man. But hopefully they have smooth runs and we can all be in the fast 12.
Good run. How are you feeling? What do you feel in the car, and how's the track conditions changed? Obviously much hotter. What did that do to the car?
For sure, it was a good run. I'm happy with that. Car felt very quick, just like Fast Friday, but definitely a bit less downforce now, which I was sliding around the track a little bit, fighting understeer, oversteer, kind of went all over the spectrum there. So no, very good run, well executed by the 76 crew, and I actually spent last night, I think it was 10 p.m. I was still on the phone with my engineer, deciding what we were going to do, and we made the right call, I think.
And did that change with the fact that you only get 1 shot this time? We've not had this before. How much did that affect your decision-making process and make it much longer in order to really nail the 1 and done?
Yeah, it's a bit of risk management. You cannot abort a run if the balance is not good. So we had to stay with what we know, what we have seen worked. So kind of stayed to kind of the downforce levels we had in Fast Friday. With the temperature, we had a little bit less downforce, but I think, really good data point. And I think we missed the center of pressure a little bit on the car, but it is what it is. We still managed to pull the run together.
Hi Taku, just kind of give us your thoughts on your run just there.
Well, first of all, I mean, it's a great day. Fans are excited, and I think the team did a great preparation, and a big thank you for that. But unfortunately, I think our car was a little bit out the window. Didn't really pull as we expected, so we are absolutely in the bubble. Still fast cars in standby, so not looking very good.
If you do get through, kind of what changes are you planning to make in order to make yourself a little bit quicker?
Yeah, we're going to change quite a bit because at the moment, clearly, it's a bit too draggy.
Ed, you get a larger cheer than most when you go past the main straight. How does it feel to kind of represent the state in some ways, having so many people kind of back you?
Yeah, I wish I could hear it. I certainly feel it. The love of the community and the fans here give me
is a big part of what keeps me coming back every year. That and the fact that I just love driving a race car around here. So it's a blessing to have such support and, you know, doing what I love to do.
Can you just talk a little bit about how that run was? The conditions seemed like they may be a bit tricky, so yeah, just talk us through how it went out there.
Well, I'll tell you what, I noticed that my throttle doesn't go deeper than what it was, so I really even look, I was like, am I full throttle? Unfortunately, it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about that. We just gotta keep pushing, and but the good news is balance is really good. So whatever we learned from race car to the qualifying, it definitely is paying off, and I'm excited for that because now what matters is the race, and that's what we're gonna keep focused.
And you've been here for a good while now at IMS. Can you just compare the emotions of qualifying weekend from when you started to now?
Amazing. I was sitting at the grid, in the car just before going. You're like, it's gonna be my 26th edition, and I'm like, and you thinking you're already used to, and it's not. It's a new sensation, new feeling. This is awesome.
Hi Christian, just talk a bit about your run, how the conditions maybe impacted it, and how the cars maybe changed compared to other points, maybe Fast Friday.
Yeah, tough run for us. You know, obviously track temps are way up, the wind is up, and like so it was definitely the hardest conditions that we've had so far this month. I would say. But you know, just ever so slightly, just missed it for whatever reason. I did what I could with my tools inside of the car. I was able to stay flat all 4 laps, so there's not really, you know, much more I could have done. But again, just ever so slightly missing it is just frustrating when I know that we have a better car than 16th, you know. So we just seem to keep not executing in the key moments, which is getting frustrating for sure. Conditions, again, plays a part in that, but other people and other cars seem to be able to make it work anyway. So we'll have to go back to the drawing board on that one.
And we know how well you raced on ovals. Do you have an impression of kind of where your race car stands at the moment after the running earlier this week?
I think we have a good race car. You know, I'm excited for going into the race, putting today behind us, and then seeing what we can do. I think we can move forward.
Marcus, good, reasonable run, different track conditions, very windy. Just talk us through that experience and how the car felt.
What do you think, man? You tell me. What did it look like?
It looked pretty windy out from where it is. It's pretty tough to get a sensation of what it's like in the car, but how did it feel for you?
Well, how are my lines? Tell me.
Pretty good. I'd say pretty good.
All right.
Looked like you were up on speed as well. Looked nice.
Yeah, car felt all right. Just missing a bit of spice there at the end, but I don't really know why, because we have a very quick car in race trim anyway, but just not quite it in Q in Quali. But the balance was pretty on it, so the engineers did a great job. It's going to be a fun Sunday next week.
Brilliant, thanks Marcus. Hi Marcus. We spoke this morning and you said it was in a slightly difficult spot. How was that run? It looked pretty quick. I found something a little bit, but then also a bit sketchy as well.
Yeah, but we definitely found some speed. That first lap was pretty good actually, 31.4 I think. So that was quicker than we thought. But then yeah, lap 2 had a big wobble, so I had to get out of it and sort of lost quite a bit of speed on that second lap, and then sort of kind of got it together for the next 2 laps. But it's just tough conditions, and you know, we've been searching a bit for the balance ever since we got the high boost on. So decent run, but very much a handful for sure.
And it's going to be reasonably close, but if you are going to come back this afternoon, what kind of changes are you going to have to make, and with the adjustment to the temperature as well?
Yeah, I think we have some balance stuff we need to do, but I really doubt we're going to be. I mean, we're still 8th, which is pretty surprising with our run. But yeah, I don't expect that to be enough, unfortunately. But we got some speed in the car, and that makes me really hopeful for next week.
Let us know how that was, how the hotter track temperatures affected the car. How did it feel?
Yeah, I mean, we're a lot freer than we had been on Fast Friday, so a little surprised for that. And obviously, we were a lot slower as well. So we'll have to see how the rest of the day goes on. You know, with the other cars right now, it doesn't really look that promising, but a lot can happen. Obviously, the wind can get a lot worse, and you know, as I say that, the wind picks up. So we'll see how it goes for the rest of the day.
And how much information that you can share with the hotter temperatures then with coming later down the line, Pato and Nolan, how much are you able to share with that?
I mean, you can only tell them what you felt, right? I think me and Ryan, from what I've heard, shared pretty much the same opinion. So interesting. I mean, obviously Nolan's 7th out, so he's out now. So we'll see how he gets on. He's been pretty comfortable on Fast Friday, so yeah, we'll see.
Hi Will, seems like it was a bit of a turnaround, especially from this morning. So kind of what felt different in the car, what may have changed to allow this kind of gain of speed?
It's just obviously a really hot condition compared to where we've been, so not really hot but hot, which kind of went our way a little more. And it's even, I think Marcus, I know where he's at, but he did a really strong run too, so it's kind of encouraging.
What are some of the challenges you've maybe been battling this week? Is it kind of the car feel? Is it more just pure speed? Kind of what have you been battling?
Just pure speed, that's it, yeah.
Nolan, different track conditions, a bit windier, much hotter. Just talk to us how that run felt and how you're feeling ahead of what might come.
Yeah, it felt terrible. Not flat, not even close to flat. Big understeer on lap 1 and then chasing the tools, and I got to the point where it was loose on entry and then understeer on exit, so just kind of all over the place, and had to drive it a lot harder than I was hoping I'd have to. So disappointed with the run. I think our lap 1, I had a big slide that I wasn't expecting and kind of killed the pace there, so I think we had a lot more potential in it, and disappointing to miss out on that.
And then how much are you looking forward to the next week and your second start in the Indianapolis 500 as well?
Yeah, very much looking forward to it. I think, again, we've been really strong all month, and so to miss out on a strong run today is just, it's just those little frustrating things. Like, I don't think we're that bad, but to just miss out on what could have been is really frustrating.
Just talk us through how that was. Obviously very different conditions to anything we've seen this week so far. How did it feel and how did that affect the balance of the car?
Was definitely tricky, a little bit disappointing to be honest with that result. We ended up trimming more than Takuma, and it was obviously the wrong call. I couldn't keep it flat through 3 just because of the wind blowing me off the track, so a bit of a shame. We were tracking to kind of be around the top 13, 12-ish without those lifts, so I don't know, a bit of a shame. I'm a bit disappointed with it really, but it is what it is. When you draw 28, you get this shit luck. So.
Hi Ryan, can you just talk us a little bit through kind of what you were feeling on that run, please?
Yeah, I mean, car's really good. Felt really balanced. Actually, on the freer side, felt like everything a fast run should be. It just wasn't. So I'm not really sure what that's about, but we'll do some more digging and try and understand it.
And I know you said it's been a bit of a challenging week, some challenges. Can you maybe just talk a bit about what some of those challenges have been that you've kind of had to overcome this week?
Yeah, it's just been unfortunate stuff. Like day 1 was electrical issues. Happens on these cars. There's a lot going on. Thursday we had a hybrid failure. Nothing the team could do about that. And then yesterday we had a gearbox issues. It's not anybody's fault. It's just racing. It's a part of it.
500 qualifying using the hybrid, kind of how different has it felt compared to what you felt in the past?
None.
Just kind of tell us the weather conditions been a bit difficult today, maybe a bit windy, a bit sunny, kind of how is it compared to kind of what you felt on Friday?
Yeah, I think that was the biggest difference today, the conditions. Even though the track temp is not that different, the conditions felt different. The car felt different, less comfortable to drive. We missed a bit of speed, but hey, we have an amazing race car, so we thought, I bet I would qualify 27th. We'll see if I was right or not.
Hello. We had talked yesterday, we anticipated it might be a little bit tricky during the rain delay. Just talk us through the conditions to start off with and how different that was and how difficult ultimately that made it.
It's getting worse right now, if I'm being honest. It was difficult. It wasn't bad though for me. I was pretty happy with our balance. Had to adjust end to end because of this wind. Having a ton of headwind into 1 and then having a tailwind into 3 is going to require some different changes, right? But I was very happy with my car. Yeah, it was right trim level, right balance, right kind of everything, but just didn't have the speed in her.
And then I guess looking ahead to race day, how confident are you then in the package that you can work your way through? It's going to be a long way to go, but I think you can do it.
I hope this isn't a false read, but we were so good in low boost. I don't know why, but we've lost speed in the high boost. We were really good in qual trim and low boost. We were really good in race trim and low boost, but for some reason we turned up the boost and we've lost some speed. So not really sure exactly why, but we're excited to get back to that low boost and get some race running in. We were one of the highest passing cars for the little amount of laps that we did in race trim. So I'm very confident in our race car.
Hi Catherine, your best ever starting position here for the Indy 500. Obviously an entry that was pretty last minute on a team that don't usually kind of run the series. So kind of how proud are you considering all those factors coming into this?
I am proud, and I probably should be saying, oh, everything's wonderful. But I wanted more, and I think that the car and the team were capable of more. I think if we got the opportunity to get a do-over, we'd be faster. But I also feel like we were super unlucky getting 33rd draw, and then with the heat and the track temps being the hottest they were for qualifying and the wind being as high as it was, I think it was probably a solid run given all of the variables that you mentioned too.
And you've only got 2 days left of practice, obviously shorter practice as well. How much work do you need to do for the race car to put it in a position for next Sunday?
I think the race car's good. I think the work is honestly more on my side now, and that's just like timing runs and, you know, being in a train, and we haven't done much traffic running, so I just need to get comfortable at that again and figure out how I'm going to pass these guys and how to make the 500 miles go as smoothly as possible.
Vic, obviously this was your first kind of time with the boost. I mean, when you first came here, you maybe weren't overawed by the speed, but kind of when that boost has turned up, how different does it feel?
You know, actually, I was surprised about it. It didn't feel massively different. You know, it's obviously you have to adjust your turning points and stuff, and I was talking to a couple of guys about it, and they all said the same. They said, like, since the windscreen is there, you don't feel that boost as much anymore, which I can totally understand. And I mean, like, you know, one of the things as a driver when you don't have the windscreen, the buffeting and the lift that you get from a helmet was impressive. I mean, like, it's really crazy, and I can imagine it was insane here. So obviously that's where maybe that feeling for the speed becomes a bit less with the smaller, but nonetheless it's like you're so on the limit, and these cars are so great to be on the limit that you know, it feels amazing. Yeah.
Graham, you seem pretty disappointed with your run. Thought you could have gone a bit quicker. Maybe where did the speed go for your run?
Yeah, I'm just baffled. You know, I don't really have an answer. Like, I can't sit and say, oh well, you know, we expected this. We didn't expect this at all. So I honestly have no clue. I mean, 2 hours ago we ran, and okay, it's cooler conditions, but we're also running very conservative on the fuel trim and stuff, and it was it was fast. So I have no clue where the hell that comes from, to be honest.
I guess the last few years qualifying has been pretty difficult for you. Were you confident that the team could have made a step forward?
Oh yeah. I mean, I had a lot of confidence today. I had zero concerns whatsoever. So yeah, I'm quite shocked.
Oh, this is pretty cool, this place. I mean, it's our first time here, your first time racing here. How does this qualifying weekend kind of compare to anything that you've ever done so far?
Obviously just been building up to it with the team. It's been one of our weak spots, this track, or for the team the last few years, so I feel like we've found a better race package. Qualifying, so for some reason can't figure that out. We're still pretty far back, but you know, it's the race that counts. So otherwise it's just been really fun building up to this week with qualifying and trying to learn as much as possible at the same time. For me, obviously first time here, but it's just been an awesome experience so far.
And what does it feel like with the boost, obviously compared to anything you've kind of driven before? I know you obviously did ovals in Indy, next you did Phoenix, but what is this like with the boost up, kind of sensations wise in the car?
It's kind of when you go in a electric Porsche and you go from, like, you know, 0 to 100. It just feels like that when you're in third gear and turning the boost up for the qualifying lap. So it's pretty crazy. You can really feel it, but yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's a different sensation compared to anything else. So obviously it's been fun so far.
Hi Jacob, obviously this weekend last year was pretty difficult for you. You knew you were going to be in the field, but kind of how does it feel to finally officially qualify for the race?
Yeah, it's bittersweet. I mean, I feel like we had such a better car than we just showed on those 4 laps. You know, at the end of the day, we are in the race, and everybody's done a very, very good job to get us to this point, but, you know, feel like we could have been a lot further up the grid for sure. So, yeah, a bit bittersweet, but happy to be here.
Don't have much practice left. Kind of, how do you feel with the race car now? That's the focus. How much work do you need to do on Monday and Friday to get that in the right window?
Yeah, that's been the vast majority of what we've done all week. So I feel a lot more comfortable about that for sure. So yeah, excited to get back into race trim, and we'll see if we can move forward a bit.
Hi Stingray, just talk us through what happened.
Yeah, disaster doesn't sum it up enough. We had everything, man. We had oversteer, we had understeer. That's the worst car I think I've driven around this place, which is unfortunate, because if you asked me how I thought my quali car was this morning, I would have said pretty good. Felt confident we were going to get in the fast 12s. I have no idea what went wrong. So I'm concerned at the moment because I don't have a reason why. I don't know how we got it so far off track. It wasn't like we took a big risk, I don't think, and there was no reason to. So yeah, really concerned at the moment.
And then does that kind of lose a bit of confidence looking forward towards race day as well, or do you think you'll be able to figure it out and then go back to where the race trim was on Thursday?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I was confident this morning. I don't know where it went wrong, so I am concerned. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why it was so bad, but I'm hoping that when we put downforce back in the car, it comes alive. We should have had a better car than that today.